G'day guys, Source20 here and welcome back to Marble Mountain. This is the lucky last episode of Citywokcitywall's build in Marble Mountain. It's a real doozy. Citywokcitywall, how are you, my friend?
What up, man? I'm doing great. How are you?
So well. So well. I am so excited to show people this last build. I can't believe it's been like 3 weeks of just teasing these episodes out, but this last one, it just really comes together. So would you like to tell everyone what we're building today?
Yeah, so this is really fun. So we're building a place based off of the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, which if you don't know what that is, Santa Cruz is a little town that's about an hour away from San Francisco. It's pretty small, but they have the centerpiece of this town is like this 1920s boardwalk amusement park, which obviously some of the rides are updated, but some of them, like this big roller coaster here, are original from the 20s, and you can ride it today 100 years later, and it's really fun. And so I wanted to build a place that was kind of like this, because this is one of my favorite places in the world. It's just like got such a different vibe than most theme parks. It's not about big rides or anything. It's about, you know, just like quaint 1920s fun on the beach. So that's what we're doing this episode, at least the first part of this episode.
So cool. And you tried to use the roller coaster that comes with the park life.
Yeah, man. Obviously you see me putting it here, and I was like looking at it, and I was like, this is unacceptable. That is not the right vibe at all. So I apologize. I know I had to get one asset for this build. It was impossible to do this without getting a better roller coaster.
Oh, please.
So,
no apologies, dude. Like, you have, like, this is the only roller coaster really to use. I mean, this roller coaster came out, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's like 2005 when this one was released on the workshop. So whoever released it is just
2015 maybe. 2005 the game was not out.
2005, 2015. God.
15.
I appreciate you making that correction.
Yes, well, you would have gotten it in the comments otherwise.
100%, yeah. And the really cool thing that you're doing here is you're using the pillars again, these wooden pillars, to create this boardwalk.
Yeah, so you'll actually see me redo all the pillars a little bit later on, so it might be better to talk about it then.
Yeah.
But what we're doing right now, which is also interesting, is creating this really big arcade, which is a real place. In here is a lot of, arcade games. And so I'm trying to do as best as I can to make something similar. And I just went through all the buildings that you had and tried to find ones that had little arches like this and other ones that had the right kind of red roof. And it was just about trying to clip them together in a way that made it look somewhat like this building. It was pretty difficult, I have to say.
Yeah, I appreciate the effort. But the result, dude, is just, it's so good. Like, I know there's probably an arcade building or there's a building closer on the workshop, but it's always fun when you splice things together, try really hard, things work, things don't work, and then you get there in the end. It's always good.
Yeah, it's funny using these like residential buildings and stuff.
Yes, that's so good. That's so funny.
I added in here like a little industrial building that obviously doesn't exist here in real life with the smokestack, but I thought it looked cool from a distance, even though it's not real. I felt that this town is a little industrial with the harbor there and with the industrial stuff that we were building last episode. Maybe not currently, but in its history. So maybe this industrial building is now even part of the arcade. You can go play arcade games inside of there or whatever.
Yeah, and that gazebo you've got there too is also like, that also really has a really like theme park vibe to it too.
Yeah, that gazebo really came in handy with this build. I used it in a bunch of different ways in a bunch of different places. So that thing is cool. I really like that.
And these signs too, like they're really useful. Like these little
there's a lot of really good vanilla signs you can see on the beach. I went and plopped every single one down.
Yes.
Because I was just trying to have a big database of them.
Yes.
You're seeing me now kind of struggle to recreate this place in real life, or this part of the building in real life that's a big kind of curved whatever this is sticking out from the front of that building. So I used some airplane wings to make the horizontal piece, and some concrete pillars to make the vertical pieces, and some signs in order to make it kind of that middle area in between all those.
I'm just imagining you swearing like at the computer, Channel's 20, like just
No, it's
really
fun, man.
annoyed.
It's a fun challenge trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And I did actually feel really bad downloading that thing because the roller coaster, because that was like the whole thing of this build is trying to figure out with what you had. But that was the one thing there is no way that it's gonna work with the vanilla one. I'm sorry.
That's so funny. Skibbeth was so dirty that I invited you into Marble Mountain like after I downloaded procedural objects because he wasn't allowed to use it when he built it like 2 times. So
that's funny.
It was like his first message. It was like, dude, are you serious? I couldn't use procedural objects, and now Citywok gets to. So yeah, he was a bit upset.
Yeah, well, I tried to use it as little as I could, but part of that building, I did have to turn some props red, and I used procedural objects to do that.
Oh man,
I don't think I've done it yet. In time lapse, maybe I have. I don't know.
Yeah, you're using it less than I use it, so I mean, I do. Yeah, I thank you for that. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's a fun challenge.
Yeah. It's all about the challenge, I guess. I mean, like my other series, I'm not going to be so stingy with my use, but yeah, it's always fun to just see what you can achieve without it. But yeah, God, it's a useful mod.
You saw me do something cool a second ago, placing these signs along the whole edge of the boardwalk, which is how it is in real life. There's like these banners along the whole thing that say like Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and they have a little logo or whatever over and over, and it's along the whole side. It's like covering up the railing. So that's what I did here, and I think that specifically really sold this place. I think that's what makes it look a little bit more real than if it wasn't there.
I love the lifeguard little towers, man. That is just so clever.
You like them? I wasn't very happy with them, to be honest. I wish I could have figured out a better way to do it, but it was again those same wooden pillars, and then I used procedural objects to make it so that I could place down that little hut building without the terrain pulling up.
I think it's so clever, but I actually think I might, just because we are going to be building so much coastline, I think that might be another building that I just download.
That would be great, because I to be honest, I think it would be a lot better if it just had the actual Coast Guard thing from the workshop. So now we're working on this little area in the real Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. There's this spot when you're walking up towards it on one side of it that's has a lot of like volleyball courts on the beach. There's like 5 or 6 of them back to back to back. And, the vanilla game does come with a volleyball court, but it has these stupid parking lots attached to them. So I had to figure out a way to justify it. So I made a little parking area that goes along with it that
good
is you'll see in a second here. To help justify it, I made a little like boat, what are these things called? Jetty, right?
Yeah.
Where you can get your boat into the water. I realized that in the marina from last episode, I hadn't built a way for boats to get into the water, and so it's just like a good excuse to do that here.
So clever. That is so good. That is so good.
Okay, so here we are deleting all of the wooden pillars, and so what you saw me just do is stack 2 of them on top of each other so that they look a little bit more like it's an actual wooden thing that you can really walk on. It doesn't have a bunch of holes going through the middle of it. So that was a little difficult because there was a lot of Z fighting trying to get it to not overlap. You can see me leaving very, very small cracks in between each one of them, and just trying to be as precise as I can placing these down.
And can you tell us a bit about this train line that you've got going here?
Yeah, so in Santa Cruz, this is how it is in real life. There's a train line that cuts across this river and goes right up along the boardwalk here. It's like basically part of the boardwalk. I think nowadays, I mean, obviously it used to be like a functional train line. I'm not sure if it was for passengers or for cargo or whatever, but nowadays I think you can take the train and it's like a thing you pay as like almost an attraction. You can pay like $20 and it'll take you on like a 2-hour train ride, into the, I don't know where it goes. I've never done it, but there's a train that comes through here every once in a while in real life. So I was trying to do something similar.
That's so cool. Yeah, I really love this. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to love this little train line that pokes through too.
So right now we're beginning to build this little town that's also based off of Santa Cruz. That's attached to this boardwalk. Basically, in real life, there's a really big parking lot here that's right along the river, and it's in this funny shape. And this is the parking lot that I would always park in because it's the one that's usually empty. So this is the one I knew best and wanted to make my own version of here. You got to have somewhere for people. If you're making an amusement park, you got to have a parking lot. And,
yes.
In real life, this parking lot would be quite a bit bigger, but it's a city skyline, so.
And Marble Mountain as well.
Yeah.
You got to scale everything down. What was the phrase you said last time?
Smush it.
Smush it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, I really like that you've got this loop that people can do as they try and find their spots. It's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of based off of the real thing. This is a one-way street, you know, and so I was trying to mimic the same thing as in real life with this one-way street that kind of loops around this little. It's not an island, but when you're here, it really does feel like an island. This little peninsula where the boardwalk is.
And before I put it to everybody else, do you have a name for this town?
No.
Okay.
I do not.
All right. Well, then, everyone else in the comment section, if you have any idea of what the name of this town is, then please hit us up, because I don't want to just call it a little town. We got to give it a name, and I'll have to name it in the next episode. Do you have any suggestions? Like, do you want to put people in any sort of direction for names?
I mean, I think you've heard me say a lot of places that this is based off of, and you will continue to as this episode goes on. There's a couple other inspirations for what this place could be called. So I think something that sort of fits in with the same sort of namings style as what it is in real life, but obviously not. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, cool. And I can see it's like a bit of a mix of residential and commercial buildings around here, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in real life, there are a lot of like people who live directly across the street from the boardwalk in apartments and whatnot. I'm imagining, these days, in more recent years, this is a lot of Airbnbs around here.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of little shops where, this is like a surf shop, clothing shop. There's like a liquor store here, a couple little restaurants and things. So I was just trying to go for this kind of like little bit of a town that's kind of here because of the boardwalk, or has over time become kind of catering the boardwalk a little bit.
Yeah, and I love that there's so much history in this town as well that you've created. Like, I love that there's this, industrial side to it, where you've got this train line, you've also got this factory that's here, and you've got this boat and marina industry too, which is really cool. So, you can sort of see that it's probably wasn't just, it's obviously not just been a touristic place. It's probably had many different lives.
Yeah, and I think thinking about that kind of stuff really helps building in this game too, because you can justify putting an industrial building in the middle of a boardwalk if it makes sense with the history of it. If this used to be something else and they repurposed the building and now it's an arcade or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And the sort of foliage you're using around here, are you going for any particular type?
Yeah, well, you just saw me place down a bunch of these redwood trees that you have.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty common thing in California, doing like little redwood groves in gullies and things.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, there's like redwood trees that are in the middle of the town, like just everywhere. There's these massive trees. And so that's what I was going for. Is there's this really large redwood tree that you have, and then there's also some smaller ones that look like sort of baby redwood trees almost. So there's a combination of those two and a couple normal trees here and there.
We just don't have any of those types of trees in Australia, so that's like another reason why I really like basing this off California. Is there's the types of trees that are so different to the ones that we have in Australia. So that's what.
Yeah, they are very interesting trees. Like, it's just incredibly tall. You know, I feel like in a lot of places it's not like the trees are easily the tallest thing around, but in these parts of California, a lot of times these redwood trees are way taller than any building nearby.
I think it's cool. I think the types of houses you've used as well is perfect because, I mean, we're pretty close to this is a very, very small town anyway. Like, it's a blip on the map of Marble Mountain.
Yeah.
But it's I like that the houses are quite dense because I feel like the types of, I mean, even the terrain around here, there's not that much space and there's a lot of mountains. So I feel like if they're going to expand out, there's not really much opportunity to do that. They have to probably just go high density, and particularly if this was like had some sort of industry around here before, now it's like a very touristic type of town, then I think it makes sense to have such high density.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, these older places like that, that's kind of a lot of times what it is it's a little bit more dense than it would be nowadays. They're not building suburbs back in the 20s, you know.
This is such a gorgeous little trail that you got going down here. It's very cool.
Yeah, so this is a little bit based off of the fact that in Santa Cruz they do have a trail that leads along the water and it starts at the boardwalk. But it's not 100% based off of that. I was just trying to get a good transition here, pretty much trying to get it to all look good together. So it starts off here as a paved trail, and then hidden underneath that little overpass is the really ugly transition where it goes to a dirt trail. And so the rest of the way up the path there is just a dirt little trail that leads to the other side of the freeway.
It's cool. It's such a quaint little town. You know, there's so much character in this. This is why I really like it. It's just got so much, you know, uniqueness to it. It's not just plopping down buildings and calling it a day. It's, you know, you can really feel that there's, you know, a sense of community here, and, you know, you can see that there's a bit of industry and there's a bit of like touristicness to it too. So it's really cool. And even like this little back veranda that you got going on here, that's very clever.
Yeah, again with the wooden pillars there. That's like the number one asset I used in this whole entire build at this point.
Yeah, you were not lying that you used it a lot.
Yeah, it's very useful for this.
So versatile.
Yeah, it really is. So we're almost done on this side of the river. I think there's just a little bit more detailing up this path with some, you know, with these ground vegetation from the Green Cities DLC, and some trees and things and rocks. But we're about to get over to the other side of this little river and making this little downtown, which is based off of a slightly different part of California.
Yeah, right.
You can kind of clump it together because they're two very close cities geographically, and they're close in size.
Okay.
But they have such a different vibe. So Monterey is where the next little phase of this build is based off of, and Monterey is it's again like a fishing town, very old fishing town, and the big thing here, they used to have a really big cannery where they would can fish. So there's a train line that it's really cool. Like you can see along the freeway here as you're going into the town, there actually are tracks, and they dead end at a certain point. And my thinking was that they, I mean, it's not that they dead end. At one point, they really did go into town. You can follow it all the way along this. It turns into a bike path for a while. You can see it like cuts between buildings, but it's really just a path at this point. So I was thinking, you know, for this build, we're going to imagine that this was never turned into a bike path, and it really was a train line that goes right into the middle of the city, and there's a train stop here because I know that's part of Marble Mountain is making sure the whole area is connected and getting these little towns and things hooked up to the main city and seeing how they interact.
Yeah, man, that's like exactly the sort of stuff that I love in Marble Mountain, and even in like California. I don't know if you saw one of the last episodes that I made or I did with Marble Mountain, but like I was talking about how much I love it when they like LA has a lot of train lines that are now being turned into like bike paths, and houses now sit there, but you can like track a lot of those old train lines. So yeah, it's really cool that you've done something based on that, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that I found really interesting because you know, in the last year or two I was driving along this freeway, and I was noticing how there's a there's train tracks here. I was like, what the heck? What are these train tracks doing? And then I was somewhere else walking along some back trail in Pacific Grove, which is a little town on the other side of Monterey from where I was just talking about. And the train tracks are there again. I was like, hey, that must be the same train track. They got rid of this middle section that goes through the town, you know. And so that's kind of what got me thinking about making a place where the train is still running, you know. They haven't gotten rid of the tracks yet.
And are you making all these observations to your girlfriend? And she's going, oh, like, I don't care. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares? That's like story of my life. Just pointing out lots of old infrastructure and train lines. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's how it is now, so.
Yeah. And so this is the downtown you're talking about?
Yeah, so in Monterey, there's this street here. I forget what the street's called, but the area is called Cannery Wharf, Cannery Row, and a lot of these buildings, or some of these buildings, I'm not sure which. I think this one here used to be the cannery. Oh yeah, you can see Monterey Canning Company, but now it's very touristy. Like you can see in these little shops, it's just a tourist trap basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going for, you know. There's a lot of seafood here. A lot of these buildings that used to be very, very industrial have been turned into little seafood restaurants and, you know, little, I don't know, whatever it is. The reason that you come here is because this is the Monterey Bay Aquarium that's attached here. And that I did not build, but in real life, that's why this is a tourist trap. That's why people come here, is because it's a very well-known aquarium.
Yeah, right. It's cool that you've taken inspiration from that area, but it's very much not like that at all. You know, it's not even in the same spot. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's very unique.
So this is based off of one of these, you know, piers that's sticking out over the water, and obviously in this scenario, it's sticking out over this river, and in real life, it's sticking out over the actual ocean. So It's a little bit different. But I was trying to go for a similar vibe where it looks like it's an industrial building, like some of these buildings that are clipped in the middle are industrial buildings. Yeah. But around the edge, it's now a little bit more like touristy buildings. And so it kind of is this weird combination of the two. So right now you're seeing me place down some concrete. In the real place in Cannery Row, there's a little like statue with some plants and benches and things. That's kind of like the center of this whole place, you know. It's it's kind of like a monument. It's called the Cannery Row Monument. I think I don't remember what the statue is exactly, but there's like a statue there. So I was trying to do something as similar to that as I could with the limited amount of stuff that we have and the limited amount of space that there is here to do that.
Look at these buildings being spliced in. Dude, so good. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of splicing stuff here. So this is just some other random building along the this little touristy spot here.
It's so good. It's just like you've had to be so creative with the assets that I've given you. Apologies.
It's fun, man. I really enjoy it. It's like a puzzle. It's like a challenge trying to figure out how to do it. Like I don't even know what these little things are I'm using right here, but this is definitely not what they're for.
Yeah. It's that's very unique. Yeah, I don't even know what are they going to be like what is that? Is it going to be a fence?
I guess it's some sort of fence. I think from a distance it kind of looks like it's a fence, and maybe you can't really see the wires that are between them. Was my thinking. I think.
Yeah. That's
it's more like you can see the pillars of the fence. Yeah. You just saw me raise or lower some terrain that you couldn't otherwise with a pedestrian path there. I wish you had the terraforming network. That's one thing that it was like, man, this would be so much easier with the terraforming network.
Yeah, I just like this part. There's parts of me that I'm like, just do it. Like, stop being so annoying and being so stingy and just get it. But then I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I've gone this far. I'm not doing it. So I don't know. I don't know if I should just get it or whether I should just...
That one particularly seems harmless, more harmless than some of the other ones. Like a lot of the time I could see, okay, yeah, that makes sense why, you want to keep it limited. But that one is literally just like, it's just a replacement to a pedestrian path, but that's invisible.
I know. It's It's the principle. It's not the weight on the game. But I just downloaded the railway replacement mod. But that's a heavy mod, and that was fine. But I won't download one single network. So I've got some weird morals when it comes to this.
Well, it does look a lot better with the with those railway replacer mod train tracks. It makes a big
you could set that quite easily. And look at that van just driving around, just over the
flying over the water. Yeah.
Jeez.
I think it's because here and on the boardwalk, you might have caught me like drawing a road underneath all these buildings so that there was road access to all of them.
I appreciate that. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, so I think at this point I hadn't yet used Traffic Manager to turn off parking, so that car was probably flying over the water to get to a parking spot over here. Yeah. But at some point I do fix that. And to make sure that it's just there to be able to have cars go in and make sure these buildings are functioning. I think I hid a doctor's office inside that building as well, because a lot of people around here were complaining about being sick.
Complainers, they're so annoying.
I know,
so annoying. They don't know what we're giving them. So needy. We give them so much, and then they just complain about noise and stuff. I notice a lot of complaining people in Mars. Every time I built some stuff, they complained about noise.
Yeah, it is why procedural objects is useful, because a lot of times if a building is causing an issue, if there's like a building and it's very noisy, you can just turn it to procedural objects and place down the block service version of the same type of building inside of there so that it functions the same, but without
that's what
issue.
I was doing. Yeah, I did that in Mars. So much easier. And I really love, you just did that really cool thing where you just put in a residential building and then below it you've got some commercial. That's very cool.
Yeah, well, that's the style of a lot of these. I mean, it's not that they're not necessarily residential on top, even though actually I think they are in this place. Maybe people do live up there, but for instance, here you can see there's a row of shops down here, and I'm guessing there's the next 3 floors above are houses. So you would obviously live with a very nice view in a very touristy street here. So now, in real life, there's a lot of really big parking structures in this area just because of how touristy it is and because of the aquarium and everything. People want to park here, and so that's what we're creating here. And all you really had was this one parking garage, and it's really tall, and I made it go into the ground. I lost the first 2 or 3 stories of it there and made it much shorter than it is in real life, and used this whatever this building is here to go around the whole edge of it and kind of mimic this building here in Monterey that is a parking structure, but the first story of it or around the edges of it there's like shops, or I'm not sure what it is in real life, but that's kind of what I was going for here.
So
and to cover up this one side here, rather than doing those shops all the way around, there's a retaining wall with a bunch of ivy. This is a very cool. I think it's more Green Cities DLC props.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, that's great. Cool. That looks good. That looks really nice around there. And that's a really great way of using that parking garage. I always forget that I own that, and I never place it down. But I need to be using it more.
Yeah, I think I come back to it a little bit later, but there's I make a cool little custom entrance for it, because obviously we lost the entrance since it's sunken into the ground, the first story of it. So there's like a little custom entrance, and I use like a bronze pillar in order to do that, and then I started placing that bronze pillar all over the thing to kind of make it look like that was part of the architecture of the parking garage there.
Awesome. And the train station that's like just hidden in that little area, it's so tight. Hey, I like it. It's really cool.
Yeah, so in real life, this there's like a path here. It's called the Monterey Bay Coastal Trail, and you can walk along it, and this is where the train line used to be, and you can even see there's a caboose that's sitting here that like proves that this used to be a train line. And so I was just trying to imagine the same place, but still with a functioning train line going through it. Which was a fun little exercise, not really basing it off of the real thing, but basing it off of an imagined version of the real thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's so cool. And you're covering up using retaining wall to cover up the rest of the parking lot.
Exactly, yeah, just trying to cover up some of the ugly pieces and placing some more, you'll see in a second, placing some more vegetation around that curve to make it kind of fit in with the rest of it.
Yeah.
I even placed some on the roof of this bookstore. Some more flat pieces. So here's the custom entrance.
Got it.
And using procedural objects is to turn that piece of concrete black so that it looks like there's a little entrance that you could drive into.
Beautiful. That's
and
very,
then
very cool.
that road is what connects up to all those roads that aren't facing all those buildings that aren't facing the street, all those little brick buildings that are facing towards that path. So that gives road access there as well.
Thanks for doing that. Have you noticed all the money that I'm making? Look at that, it just shot up to $130,000.
I know, I was shocked. That was 40 episodes of complaining about that, and then now it's fixed. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, then there's now a lot of people complaining that I cheated and used procedural objects. So you can't win. You either you can't please everyone. That's the moral of the story.
Listen, I think turning off a building, shouldn't be cheating. That's because that's mainly what you did to fix it, was you turned things into procedural objects so that they were no longer functioning, and they were just there decoratively. And I wouldn't count that cheating.
Look, I don't care. I don't give two shits. I think it's more for me. I just enjoyed seeing everything. I just like making money in this game. It's quite nice to actually know that it's.
And the city becomes much more bustling too when you do that kind of stuff, because rather than buildings not functioning, now they're functioning, and people go to them, and it makes traffic and makes the whole city become alive.
Yeah, I agree. And so we're pretty much done, man. It's been 3 weeks of 3 episodes, and you've just done such a massively detailed small town, and it's just really coming together.
Yeah, almost done here. I, obviously this isn't the full extent of this town. I left parts of it blank for you to figure out the best ways to connect it to whatever you were going to build in the nearby areas.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lock you into something. And so this town isn't 100% done, but I think the vibe and the center of it at least is.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I'm thinking I'm going to expand out with farms, and then it's going to go into maybe some vineyards. I think it'd be quite nice around here.
I think that would be very cool too. I think that would, especially up in that valley, maybe could be really cool to have some vineyards. It'd feel very California.
Yeah, and you've really left me quite a lot of space, and it's so far away from Oakwood. That was I didn't know how you're going to do it. I gave you this task because I didn't know how to do it, and you've managed to squeeze in a lot within such a very small space. So I do really, really appreciate the work that you've done on this, man. It's been such a pleasure having you over the last couple of episodes.
Oh man, it was so fun. Like I said before, this scratched my build a California city and city skylines itch, which I'm not sure if I could scratch otherwise, just because I don't know how I could make it yet another California city skyline series. So I really appreciate it, man. This was super fun. And I have a secret. My city that I casually built before I started making YouTube videos was on this map as well.
Yeah.
So it was really fun coming back here in the actual Marble Mountain after I'd spent so long in it doing my own crappy version of it a long time ago.
Oh man, I'd love to see. Do you have any screenshots from that?
I do, yeah.
Oh great, send them through.
I will.
Really interesting to see. But yeah, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. And if you want to jump back in at some point, then I'll most happily have you back and join another build. That would be really lovely. Guys, one more time, please go and check out Citywokcitywall. He is doing amazing stuff on his channel with Mars, and I think I've probably built in there by now. I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe.
I'm not sure either, so this is recorded a little bit ahead of time. But it's whether or not it's out yet. $2 is an amazing build in my city in Mars. So if you haven't checked that out, you should at least check out his episode if you're a fan of $2.
At the very least, guys. At the very least. But yeah, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back in building in Marble Mountain now that I've got somebody else to do a lot of the builds for me, which has been nice. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But guys, until the next week, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.